All right, just got the agenda up now.
We're just going to be a minute, everybody.
Sure.
Okay, Frank, are you there? Frank?
So, do you want to get this started?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Can you hear me okay?
yes.
All right. How do we open
So-
the meeting? I mean, can everybody hear us at once, or what goes on?
Yes, everybody should be able to hear you and I now.
All right. So if
I've got a quick thing to read, some kind of ground rules that we're going to follow, and then
All
I'll
right.
turn it over to you to start.
Okay.
So just at the beginning, welcome everybody. Please bear with us. It's a web-based meeting, so we're operating under the following procedures. The session is being audio recorded, just like every other CCP meeting. Please be advised that today we are also recording the video of the proceedings. To ensure sound quality, the default rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain on mute. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting, and will generally be keeping video of themselves on if possible throughout the meeting. Applicants and members of the public should feel free to leave their video on or off. However, they will be asked to turn off their video when speaking if possible. I've really closed everyone's video off, so you shouldn't see anybody else. If video is not available for you, you will not be precluded from speaking or providing public testimony. As of right now, I have one number in the waiting room that I don't know who it is.
Might be Claire.
It might be?
Yeah, because she told me that she might call in and listen tonight.
Okay, it could be the day, so I'm going to admit them to hear.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then Kathy's going to call in.
Okay. Let's see, where were we? During public hearing portions of the meeting, all the normal rules, including stating and spelling your name and address, still apply. We'll read the public hearing rules at the start of the first public hearing of the meeting. If you can, please use the raise your hand feature for staff to know that you've raised your hand to speak. If you're speaking at this meeting and have an exhibit to submit to the commission, which was not distributed in advance of the meeting with the rest of the materials, please indicate that you wish to submit an exhibit. You'll need to hold it up to the camera if possible and provide a description of the exhibit so that the commission and all members of the public may review it. In addition, you'll be required to email the exhibit or take a photograph of it and email it to staff, who will include it in the permanent records of the commission. Members of the public may only speak during an open public hearing. If a member of the public speaks outside of a public hearing or creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of staff or the chair. We appreciate all your cooperation. We'll try to get through this smoothly and orderly. So at this time, Frank, I'll turn it over to you for the call to order, and we'll do a roll call. I will unmute people. Some people are signed in on their computer and their phone. I'm going to try your phone first for the roll call and seating of alternates if need be. And then, Frank, I'll kind of be stepping back in for each agenda item just to try to keep it consistent, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, we'll do the best we can, Dan. I would appreciate all the work you put into trying to get this done. So at this point, I will call the meeting to order, and we will take roll call. I can see from the participant list, it appears that we have a quorum, but if you want to actually take a roll, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm just going to unmute, and when I unmute you, I'll say who you are, and if you could just repeat your name and say you're here. So I'll start with Jason.
Jason Corder, present.
And then Michael.
Michael Land, present.
Then Singh.
Swaranjit Singh, present.
Then I think this is Kathy. Kathy?
Kathy Warzika, present.
And I believe that's it.
Yeah, I think that is. So
Okay.
it appears that we have a quorum. And at this point, I would ask for approval or a motion to approve the February 18th, 2020 minutes.
So for motions where I'd like people to raise their hand in the chat box if possible. And then if multiple people do it at the same time, I'm just going to pick one of you and let Frank know.
That's fine. Can I just ask, Dan, is Melinda all set on this with the recording and everything?
Yeah, we're recording it, and I'll provide her with the recording, and she's on the meeting too right now.
All right. Okay. So again, if someone could please make a motion to approve the minutes from the February meeting. Anybody?
Okay, so
Looks like
we
Jason.
have Jason. So Jason?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, and Jason's made the motion. Can we have a second, please? Could one of the members make a second by hitting the raise your hand button on the screen? And then you'll be able to make the second.
I don't have a raise your hand button because I'm hosting, but if someone that can, Frank, if you can see, if you could tell people where it is, because they may not be aware of it.
Yeah, I thought I just did, but if you go down to the bottom of your screen where it says participants, if you haven't done it already, and click on the participants menu down there, it'll raise a screen to the right or someplace on your viewing screen, and it'll list all of the people who are participating in the meeting. And right now it says 17 participants. And if you scroll down on that list, you should be able to find your name. And at the bottom, there's also three menu items, and one of them says raise hand. If you click on that, you'll see a little hand raise up next to your name, and then Dan can recognize you and you can speak. So Jason has already made the motion. He did that. He raised his hand and made the motion to approve the minutes. We now need a second to get those minutes approved. If somebody could please do that.
If not, Frank, I'm gonna just pick someone and unmute them and ask them if they'll make a second. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it seems like that, we may have to do that. Why don't you check with one of the other parties?
Okay. So Kathy, would you like to make a second?
Yes, I will make a second. I'm trying to figure out how to get into the Zoom part of this. All
Okay.
right, that's fine. I will make a second.
Thank you.
Does that mean Kathy doesn't have the screen up on her computer and can't see it?
Correct.
Okay.
We're working
All right.
on it.
Hopefully she can hear though when we're speaking.
Yes.
All right, so we've had a motion and a second, and if we could just have another roll, I guess, all in favor of that motion.
Okay.
So maybe you can do that, Dan, go through the roll and
Sure.
check it.
I'll start with Jason. Jason?
Yes, I'm here.
What is your vote on the motion that you made?
I vote yes.
All right. I
Michael?
vote yes for that matter, Dan.
Okay. Michael?
I think I have to abstain because I wasn't there,
Okay.
or I'll vote in favor.
We'll take your vote in favor, Mike.
Okay, fine.
Singh?
Yes, I'm in favor, but I wasn't present. That's why I didn't second.
And Kathy?
I vote in favor.
Okay, so I think that's all the voting members, and so the minutes have been accepted and approved. So that's dealt with. Communications, Dan, we have something from the town of Montville.
Yep. Deanna's going to handle that.
Okay. Deanna, are you on?
Yes.
Is she hooked up? I see her name there.
But hold on, we can't hear her.
No.
You there? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
can hear you now.
Okay. All right, here we go. So in Montville, they have 2 applications for text amendments that are going to be on their April 28th meeting. So I have reviewed both of them on behalf of the city to see if there's any intermunicipal impact, and it doesn't appear to be. One of them is specifically for amendments to the regulations to allow for workforce housing, and it looks like to accommodate sustaining some businesses that have seasonal employees. It's going to allow for them to have seasonal employees a minimum of 2 months to 6 months. They're allowed to have a limited maximum of 8 residential units with no more than 2 bedrooms in each of those. And they have to live, these workforce housing has to be within 500 feet of the parcel in which the employment is occurring. Does not seem to be any impact to us. I'm imagining it's probably for some kind of farm-related use. That's usually what it is when we have workforce housing proposals. So that I don't expect to have any comments for the city unless you do, but I'll go to the next one also, and then we can briefly speak about it. The second Town of Montville application is for them to amend their own regulations. The first one was actually submitted by someone else, but this one is the town itself amending their setbacks for multifamily. I did notice in their letter to us, the referral is different from what's actually in their proposed regulation. Their multifamily setbacks in their proposal, in their letter, actually says front yard 40 feet, side yard 20 feet, and the rear yard 40 feet. But if you go to the next page, Dan, can you go to the next one on that? It actually shows front yard 20 feet, side yard 40 feet, and rear yard 20 feet. So one of them is incorrect, either what states in the letter or what's in their change proposal. So I'm going to let them know that there's a conflict between their letter and what's actually in their proposed regulation. It doesn't affect us in either way, but I would just thought as a courtesy, I would let them know that there was an error.
Do we need to take any action on this communication?
No,
No.
we don't, unless
We just-
unless anybody wanted to have any response. But no, we don't have to. It's a courtesy referral that's required by statute.
Right, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure that there was no need for us to actually vote on it.
No, I mean, unless if Dan wanted to open it up, if anyone had comments on it, if they had any concerns, then we could refer any concerns. The only concern I was going on the behalf of the city was to just let them know that I saw an issue between their letter and the proposed change, and I was just going to do that. But I didn't expect to have any other comments on behalf of the city from a regulatory standpoint.
Okay, so that's fine then. So we've received the communication and
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else we need to do at this point.
That's fine.
So Frank, Mike has his hand up, so I'm going to unmute
Oh,
him.
he does? Okay, go ahead.
I'm not
Go ahead,
sure
Mike.
I'm not sure of the practice we've done before, but I think we've at least done some kind of a, if not a motion, then some kind of a resolution that they have no impact on us. I think that the town of Montville probably needs something from us in terms of a vote. So I would like to
See-
move that the proposals made by the town of Montville have no noticeable effect on the city of Norwich.
Okay, so we have a motion. Does somebody want to second it?
If anyone could raise their hand.
Is anybody going to second this motion that Mike made?
I'll unmute people.
All right, yeah, check and see.
Kathy?
Okay, we don't actually have to comment on it, but we can if we want. And I have no problem commenting that there's no intermunicipal impact.
Yeah, that was my understanding too, Kathy, so. But Mike's made the motion, so you're seconding it, I take it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and so let's take, is there any other discussion on this particular motion then? If so, somebody raise their hand. If not, let's put it to a vote. And Dan can go through and take the roll on the vote.
Here's the phone number. Here's the,
We'll start with Kathy.
I vote in favor, but, okay, I vote in favor.
Thank you. Frank?
Yeah, I'll in favor of the motion.
Jason?
I'm in favor of the motion.
Michael?
I'm in favor of the motion, but I also raised my hand.
You're so polite.
And Singh?
Favor of the motion?
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion carries. We've made the referral back to Montville saying that the regulations have no impact upon the city of Norwich. So Deanna or Dan can communicate that to Montville.
I will. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so then the next order of business, we have two public hearings. And the first one is on special permit number 20-01. This is 10 Connecticut Avenue. Request for special permit for a proposed 53,880 square foot building addition and related site improvements, including 64 proposed parking spaces and 200 deferred parking spaces for future installation. The application of Nordson EFD LLC, property of Nordson EFD LLC, AKA Plaspak Industries, Inc., Assessors Map 50, Block 1, Lot 51, Zone BP. So can we have a, Dan, do you have any preliminary comments, or do you want to call for a motion to open the public hearing?
I think I will just quickly go through my memo, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dan, you have to open the public hearing first. They have to have a motion to open the public
Okay.
hearing.
So
To
we'll
go through his
do
memo?
that motion first.
Yes, because his memo is part of the record, so it needs to be under the public hearing. So start with
All right,
opening the.
so let's, if somebody could please make a motion to open the public hearing. It looks like Mike Lahan has raised his hand.
Michael?
I so move.
All right, and is Singh seconding that? I see a hand raised there.
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
am seconding. Yep.
So we have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor, if you can take a roll, Dan?
So, Michael?
I raised my hand. Said yes.
All right,
Singh?
Yes.
I see Jason's hand raised.
I vote yes.
Jason?
I vote yes.
Kathy?
I vote yes, but can you give me the password? I can't seem to get into this. Sorry.
Yes, I'll bring the
That's okay.
agenda back up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the password's on the agenda, Kathy.
Oh, it is? Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, so the motion has been made, seconded, and the vote's been taken, all in favor. So we can open the public hearing, and Dan, if you can go ahead with your comments.
Okay, sure. So as you mentioned, the application is proposing to construct an addition to an existing building in the industrial park. I'm not going to read everything on the memo. We had various comments from various departments that were forwarded back and forth between the applicant and addressed. I'm going to let them speak on that. I will note that they have submitted a written request for a deferred installation of parking spaces. So that will be part of what's decided here tonight. So that'll be, that'll take place after the close of the public hearing before you decide in favor or not on the application. That was the main point I wanted to make. I will turn it over to Bob Russo and Tom Cummings from CLA to make their part of the presentation. And I have a number of documents that I'll bring up on the screen as they're speaking and try to follow along with them.
Okay, thank you. So and Bob and or Tom, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is Bob Russo. I'll be starting off. Tom Cummings is right here next to me in front of the same computer, sitting a good 6 feet away from me. I'd like to also mention that Kurt Metzbauer from on behalf of the applicant is here, as well as Scott Tracy from Curling Construction, the applicant's contractor. I hope that you can all hear me well. Dan, thank you for setting this up. If there's any problem, please feel free to stop me and we can make adjustments. As I mentioned, my name is Bob Russo. I'm a certified soil scientist with CLA Engineers, and with me is Tom Cummings, professional engineer. We're here for this public hearing because of the fill in the floodplain that's proposed for this building addition. You can see before you now, those of you that can see the screen, a diagram that shows the existing site as well as the proposed addition and an area of compensatory floodplain storage that's proposed. The site is at 10 Connecticut Avenue. If you're going up Connecticut Avenue, it's at the bottom of the hill. It's on the left. It sits back from the road. You really don't see it very much as you drive by. To orient you to the map, the top of the map is north, the bottom, and if you could scroll, Dan, to show the bottom, The Yantic River flows along the southern edge of the site. It's about a 27-acre piece of land. It has an existing building that you can see in the light color in the middle of the graphic. It's a 142,782 square foot building. You can see the existing parking in the light blue that's present throughout the site. Tom Cummings will go into more detail on the parking after I finish. And the site itself was previously graded, filled, and drainage installed, not just in the area of the existing building, but westerly to the green basin that you see in the graphic. There was drainage, catch basins, et cetera, installed in that whole area to provide for future expansion, so that the entire proposed project that you see tonight is going into an area where the soils have been previously disturbed and graded and drainage installed. The proposed building addition is 53,880 square feet. It will be a metal building. The parking will be reconfigured. And I'd like to point out, Dan, if you can scroll down to the area along the Yantic River, please. There's an area labeled pavement to be removed, and you can see approximately 28,000 square feet. That's existing pavement that's not really needed for parking, that will be removed and replaced with gravel to maintain the access road for NPU to their facility to the west, and with vegetation, the area that's shown in green. On the western side of the site, Dan, if you could pan over to the green basin, actually we can see it there. Compensatory flood storage will be put in place there. A basin will be excavated, and the stormwater from the roof of the new building will be put into that basin for treatment as well. As part of the application to the commission, a floodplain narrative has been submitted and is part of the record. I'd just like to review the important points of that floodplain narrative. Approximately 2,960 cubic yards of fill in the form of the building and its foundation will be placed in the 100-year floodplain. The area to be excavated is 3,108 cubic yards. That's the basin that's shown in green. That's a net gain of 148 cubic yards in the floodplain. The soils across the entire area of construction are labeled as Udorthens and urban land in the Natural Resources Conservation Service soil survey, which supports the idea that it has all been disturbed before. The 100-year floodplain elevation is 105.5 based on the 1983 datum. And Dan, can you indicate in the upper left of the view that's shown now where the 100-year floodplain line is? It's labeled, it's the border between zone X and zone AE on the very left of the diagram. That's it. So that's the edge of the 100-year floodplain. There is also floodway on the site, and that's further south. And if you go to the bottom of the green basin, you can see the approximate limit of floodway labeled. There is no work in terms of installation of fill in the floodway. The only activities that are proposed there are the removal of existing pavement, replacing that pavement with crushed stone or with vegetation. There will be no outdoor storage of materials on the site. The raw materials that they use for manufacturing will be stored in silos that are above the floodplain, and no hazardous materials will be stored outdoors in the floodplain or floodway. As I mentioned earlier, the roof water from the new addition will go into the basin. That's part of the compensatory storage for treatment. In that regard, for both stormwater and erosion and sedimentation control purposes, the site has been designed in conformance with the Connecticut DEP 2002 manual for erosion and sedimentation control and 2004 manual for stormwater treatment, and the city engineer has reviewed those submittals. In terms of potential for erosion on the site, it's relatively low. It's a nearly flat site, so the water won't have a chance to build up velocity. And the proposed sedimentation and erosion rings the site and protects the Antic River and the other wetlands on site. A bond estimate has been prepared already and submitted to the town, to the city. It's an estimate of $51,000 bonding from the ENS. In addition, because this site shows up on the archaeological sensitivity map, coordination letters have been sent out to both of the tribes and to the state requesting any information with regards to archaeological sites or the potential. We think that that potential is really fairly low because of the extreme disturbance of the site. I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to turn it over to Tom Cummings to talk in more detail about the site plan.
Dan, maybe we'll go to the other. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a building addition on an existing building. The
Dan,
parking.
can you hear me, Dan?
Yes.
It looks like Mike Lehan has his hand raised.
Okay. 1 minute. Michael?
I'm sorry, I did that by mistake.
Okay. So just if we could pause for 1 second, Tom. Frank, I think what we'll do is after Tom's presentation, I'll unmute all of the CCP members for discussion, and hopefully everyone doesn't talk over one another.
Okay, yeah, we'll try to keep it in order.
Okay, because the hand raising is helpful, but it also jumps people around on the list. So I go to unmute them and then they move. So that's the reason for the delay. But
All right.
please continue, Tom.
Yes. The parking, essentially, there's no new pavement being proposed except up in the top left-hand corner, adjacent to the Stanks stand, right in that area, and that's it. And we're removing about a half acre of pavement in the proposal. Most of the parking is really just restriping of existing paving areas, and the drainage, it was already on the site. They did it when they built the building originally. I don't know how many years ago it is. It's been there a long time. And so we did the drainage. The only drainage we really handled was the new roof drainage, and brought it to the area of the compensatory storage and used that basin to attenuate the flows. Other than that, the site is pretty much the same as it is today. In regard to the special permit, the reason for the special permit was the floodplain, but in answering the other, we submitted a special permit report. I'm not going to go into the detail. It just says it's an expansion of an existing use. There will be additional employees, but it's a very modest number. And given the location of this building, right near the, I guess would be considered the main entrance to the business park, it's an ideal situation. The existing utilities are all being used, and as I said, the drainage. The building itself, in addition, the building itself is just very difficult to see, or not difficult to see, but just, they see it all. The addition is entirely off the back of that building, and it's going to be a little bit higher and a different material. It's a steel framed building with steel siding, and anyway, the addition fits any requirements of the special permit. We also are asking for a parking deferment. The building, the requirement on the right-hand side over the Nordstrom label that shows the existing parking is about 130 spaces. the building requirement is 394 spaces. And the largest shift that they have will be about 150 people. So it really, there is no reason to install some 200 parking spaces that really have no use and not part of what is necessary. We submitted a waiver, and in that waiver noted that also this site, what we're looking at on this plan, that's only about half of the entire site. This site's about 27 acres, and what's shown on the plan is about 13 acres, not even half of the entire site. So it's a big area. We showed in the darkest blue or gray the 200 spaces, which could easily be installed on the site if necessary. Also in number 3 in the parking as in the request for the deferment, that the owner will file with the commission that should it be necessary to add those places because of a change of use. Oh yes, number 3, a change of use or whatever, that they are required to provide that additional parking if and when it becomes necessary. These days with manufacturing, it's a different story. And I think that's it.
Okay, so is that the presentation by the applicant then?
Unless Kurt, is Kurt on the line?
I have one person that I don't know who they are.
Tracy?
Scott Tracy's on here. I have one phone number, 334-3218.
No, I don't know. Might be Kurt.
All right, well, let's do this. Tom and Bob have completed their presentation, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so do you have anything to add at this point, Dan?
Dan?
Yes.
Okay, would you like me to chime in now?
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay, so a couple things I wanted to mention, that it did go before Inland Wetlands, this application, and it was approved on March 5th. And again, the bond amount was that $51,000. That was satisfactory to our city engineer. There's also, for the record, the list of exhibits. Dan, do you have a second to flip over to that?
Yes.
So there's 26 exhibits here. I'm just going to really read them quickly, only because there may be people who are listening on the phone, Frank, that they can't see the screen. So I'm just going to add these things into the record really quickly. One is the special permit application, was dated 2/4/20, received on 2/5/20. The site plan set, CLA cover sheet, and sheets 2 through 9, received in, the dates of them were 3/19 and 2/20, received on 2/5. Sheet 1 from CLA, which is a deferred parking plan that was discussed, was dated 2/20, and received on why is that dated 2/20? Received it on 2/5/20. I'll have to get back to that. Exterior elevations received on 2/5. The drainage report was received on 2/5. The warranty deed received 2/5, and that had the description with it. Request for deferral installation of parking came in on 1/29, and 2/5 was the receipt date. E&S bond estimate was 2/5 and received it on 2/5. Floodplain narrative 1/1/20 came in on 2/5. The transmittal for the project review that was sent from our office out on 2/7/20. But building officials' comments 2/7/20, which there was no comments from him. NPU review comments were 2/18/20. I'm not reading all these things, but they are available online on our website, and you can look at those. City engineer review memo was 2/27/20, received by us 2/27. The legal notice was published 3/5 and 3/12 for this application. The proof of mailing of the abutters was submitted, was done on 3/3 and submitted to us for 4/17. Special permit criteria for your consideration is also part of the packet, came in on 2/28. It was dated 2/28, received 3/30. The revised plan set was with the new cover sheet in sheets 2 through 9 was dated 3/3, and we received it on 3/3. The city engineer's review email after that came in on 3/4/20, and it was dated 3/4/20. Dan Deniska's planning memo, which I'll go over very briefly with you, and it was shown earlier, is 3/12/20. ZEO review was an email on 3/12/20 and received that same day. CLA's letter to the Mohegan tribe, the Mashantucket tribe, and to the SHPO office were all dated 3/16 individual letters, and we received copies of those on 3/24. MPU had some comments in response to the review, and it was 4/21/20, the date of theirs, and then again received that same day. The site presentation board, 3/5/20, received on 4/21, and then the deferred parking request, 3/9/20, again received 4/21. So these are all on our site. If you want to look at any of those, we can call them up for you. Otherwise, I just wanted to make a couple other comments. I did want to say that normally, instead of sending those letters to the tribes and to SHPO, what we would normally do is ask the applicant to send the site plan over to the state archaeologist, Sarah, who is the new state archaeologist. So I would still ask that we do that. It shouldn't take long for her to do a quick review. She just looks and sees if there's anything in their resource records for that area. I'm sure she'd be the resource that these other agencies would be going to anyway. So I think it's just faster if we can go directly to the state archaeologist. And then the only other comment I have before you open it up to questions from the commission is a reminder again that you will have to, after you close the public hearing, that you'll have to make a decision on the deferred parking. We determined that they don't need all that parking, but we would want to be available to do it, and they agree in the future should they have an influx of employees coming here. And then on number 13 of this Dan's memo is what his recommendations would be for conditions, and there's 10 of those that we would want to be incorporated should a decision be made. But I think what needs to happen next would be that we'd open it up to commission members having questions for the applicant or for me, and then after that we would want to open it up, Chairman, to the public for any comments.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. So Dan, you said you were going to unmute the commission members to see if, so we can have our discussion or a discussion.
Correct.
And then we'll open it up for public comment.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Is everybody on now?
Yes.
I am.
Okay, so we've heard the staff input. We've heard from the applicant. Any commission members have questions or comments at this point?
I do.
Okay, so tell us who you are and let's hear the comments.
Hi, I'm Jason Corder. I was just curious if there's anything buried in the gas easement located behind the original location of the building.
Can Tom, can you answer that question?
Yes, that's an abandoned gas line. They've moved it. It's all the way over by the Public Works substation now. That's gone. It's an abandoned gas line. Nothing exists.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Jason?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
I have none.
Okay,
I have none.
Mike. And Kathy, none.
I'm all
Singh?
set. I'm all set.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So I don't have any either. So I guess at this point, Dan, we can open it to any public comments. And I think you and I had talked earlier, and that rather than trying to figure out who's going to speak in favor or opposed, we'll just take public comments as they come off the telephone lines.
Right. So I'm going to unmute the people that are not on the commission, and so I'm going to unmute Scott Tracy that I have, and this other number that I don't know who they are.
All right. To those folks who have just been unmuted, do you have any public comments on this application? And if so, if you're going to speak, please, as Dan noted earlier, state your name and address for the record, please. I don't hear anybody responding. I'll ask one more time. Any of the people who are on the line who have been unmuted, does anybody wish to speak in connection with this application, either for or against? If so, please come on the line and state your name and address, and then you can make whatever comments you would like. Okay, I'm not hearing any responses, Dan. With no responses coming in for the public comment, I would at this point ask the commission members do we need anything else for the public hearing, Deanna?
I don't think so. Does anyone have any questions for me or any of the questions about the 10 comments that Dan has in his memo that would be conditions out of number 13 in his memo? Or any questions about the deferral of the parking?
Okay, I'm not hearing any responses, so if somebody could please make a motion to close the public hearing at this point.
I'll make that motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, that's
This is
Kathy's made the motion to close the hearing. Can we have a second, please?
I'll second the motion.
And that's Mike Lahan seconding the motion. Any discussion on that motion?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? No, the motion carries. The public hearing is closed. So do we want to suspend the rules and vote on this matter at this point, or do the next public hearing? That's if we're going to do that, I think we need a motion to suspend the order and move on to the motion.
No, I think on the agenda, we do have it to potentially make a decision on it. So you don't have to suspend the order. You can move on to the request for the deferral of parking and then a decision on this application before we go to the next public hearing.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Can we have a motion on the deferral for the parking?
I'll make a
So moved.
motion. We defer the parking. I think that it's good not to provide extra pavement in areas that we don't need it, especially, this is a large building, but if they're not going to use it, it's not really necessary. And they will have extra storage or extra area if they do need to provide it. So I would motion that we approve the deferred parking.
Okay, so Kathy's made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is that Mike?
It is.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll move for a vote. All in favor?
Aye. Michael
Aye.
says aye.
Okay, so it's any opposition? Hearing none, the motion carries for the deferral of the parking. So then we would move on to the actual application itself. Can we have a motion on that?
This is Michael. I move approval
Okay,
with
the
the
conditions-
conditions that Dan has outlined in his memorandum. And if it isn't part of that, to also send the plans to the state archaeologist directly as Deanna had suggested.
okay, so we have a motion for approval with the conditions as set out in Dan's memo, and additionally to send the plans to the state archaeologist directly as suggested by Deanna. Can we have a second on that motion?
Singh, I second.
Okay, so we have a second by Singh. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition?
No.
Hearing none, the motion is carried and the application is approved with the conditions set forth in the motion. All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that being done, I think we can move on to the next public hearing, which is on special permit 20-02 regarding 20 and 20 Rear Prentice Lane, request for special permit to change from an existing non-conforming commercial horse riding / boarding stable use to a cattle farm with, it says within, but I assume it means with 10 to 15 head. Application of Stephen V. Milley, property of John Milley, Assessor's Map 78, Block 1, lots 39 and 39A, Zone ROS. Dan, do we have any input before we open the public hearing?
I would just note that the proposed use is allowed under zoning regulation 484 via special permit if the commission determines that the project does not expand the existing nonconformity. You can see in the memo, it's anticipated there'll be no public pedestrian or vehicular traffic generated by the proposal. No one will be coming to and from the site other than the owners and
I'm sorry?
Hold on. Deanna, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to, everything that Dan just said, just let's hold off on that, Dan. I think that's really considered testimony, and I think it should wait into the public hearing.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay.
Yep.
So why don't we just have a motion, if Frank, if Chairman doesn't mind, to open the public hearing, and then we can get the applicant to speak?
Yeah, that's fine. So can somebody please make a motion to open the public hearing on special permit 20-02?
Kathy, I will make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Michael. I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No, so the public hearing is now open. Again, Dan, do you want to proceed or you want to just have the applicant make their presentation?
I think we can just invite the applicant to speak.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that. This is John or Stephen Milley speaking on behalf of John Milley. Is that my understanding?
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Milley, if you're on, you can proceed with your application.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank Deanna and Dan for all the work they've done to make tonight happen. I want to thank the commission for listening to the application. My nephew grew up on that hill, walking straws and walking ponies. Several years ago, he had an opportunity to buy one of the houses up there. It's been his lifelong dream to raise cattle. He worked for John Good and Preston for 30-odd years. After Bucky Brennan died, the opportunity presented itself to somebody else, and they forfeited on the property. So John and his wife, I believe it was in January, finally bought the rest of the property. The proposal is to use the existing grazing area, the old riding ring, as his pastures, 2 pastures, one for grazing and the other for growing, then alternate back and forth. The idea is to keep no more than 10, possibly 15 if calving season. of cattle. There's a barn on the property. The original discussion was to disassemble it because it was in pretty tough shape. But there's a consideration that they may try to salvage it. Either way, it will be on the same exact footprint. There'd be nothing different. The land as presented on the maps, nothing is changing. Putting barbed wire fencing to keep the animals on the property. And it's inward of most property lines to create a natural buffer. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, sir.
Prentice Lane is a dead-end lane that ends at the property. There is going to be no vehicle traffic, no pedestrian traffic that may have been there before when it was commercial riding stables and boarding stables. There's going to be no lighting because it's not going to be an outside facility. The existing lighting that was there has been taken down. Excuse me. There was a manure management plan requested that's been submitted. Again, with roughly 10 cows, it's not going to generate a lot of manure. I'm just trying to think of what else you might need to hear.
Now, is there going to be anybody living on the property?
Yes, my nephew John already has been living there for 12 years or 13 years now. And the second house that's on the property is going to be renovated and his stepson is going to live there, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
And there should be some letters supporting it from a couple of the neighbors on Princess Lane.
I'm going to read those into the record in a few minutes, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
So, Mr. Milley, do you have anything else you want to add at this point?
I think it's been a farm of some sort for at least 6 decades. And if you look at the pictures that are included in the packet, that's what it will look like in 6 decades from now as well. It's not going to be any interruption in what it looks like.
Okay. And we see some pictures that are on the screen now for those of us who have the computer access.
It's getting cleaned up now because it's been left to overgrow for several years.
Right. Okay, so at this point, does the staff want to have a presentation on their end?
Sure, I'll just add a few things in to the record too, and I'm going to do similar to what we did before. I'm going to read the exhibit list really quickly, and but I'm not going to read the 2 letters of support until we open it up for public comment, and then I'll do that at that time. So the first thing I'm going to do is go quickly through this exhibit list. The special permit application received on 2/12, dated 2/12 was received 2/24. The site plan is received on 2/24. The narrative 2/7/20 received 2/24. Special permit criteria was supplied to you 2/24. Uncas Health District comments dated 2/7 were received 2/24. Manure management plan received 2/24. The warranty deed in Exhibit A, which is the Schedule A, was 2/24. The USDA soils report that was done is 1/30/2020, received 2/24/20. Letter of support from Carol Clammer was dated 2/3, received 2/24. The proof of required mailings came in. They were dated 3/30. That can't be right. They're dated. Hold on, let me look at that real quickly. It'll take me 2 seconds. I just want to find number 10 because that doesn't look right. It was, there's a typo there, and it was, he sent it on March 3rd, and it was received on March 4th, so there's a typo there. We'll fix that. The legal notices were published on 3/5 and 3/12. The transmittal for project review sent out to the different departments went out on 3/5 from the planning department. The letter of support from Mary Ellen Casey dated 3/6, received 3/9. City engineer did a review dated, it was an email 3/12/12. 312 and received on 312. Planning Department memo, Dan Deniska, that was dated 312, and I'll go over that quickly in a moment. The ZEO email chain, and that went back and forth with several people on that, and that was dated, started on 312 and finally received 316, and then there was a waiver request that came in. And the waiver is not to file the Mylar in the site plan, not having a the site plan. The site plan was prepared by CLA a while ago. We didn't feel that it needed to go back to them to do any work, so he just marked that up for the presentation purposes. We don't think it's necessary. Show us where fencing's going. Necessary to file this on the land records because it's not changing property boundaries. There's no improvements associated with it. And we don't feel that was necessary, so there's a waiver request. Dan's memo, the fifth is, which was item 15. Dan did a review of this proposal and has some conditions on it. It was number 10 of his memo. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullet points on there. The proposal does comply to sections 4.8.4 and chapters 5 and 7.7 of the zoning regulations. We don't feel that the use is more intensive. It's actually less intensive for a non-conforming use in the residential open space, recreational open space zone. So, you know, it was something that had more visitors before than it does now. So we feel that it is not a huge impact to the community. It's probably a lesser impact. And I did want to say one condition that wasn't on Dan's is there is a manure management plan, and it was reviewed by the Uncas Health District, which was one of the items on the exhibit list, which was number 5. And they seemed comfortable with reviewing the manure management plan, but I would ask that they adhere to their own manure management plan, as far as that would be another condition under number 10.
Okay. So that being said, Deanna, I'm going to open the hearing up to questions from the commission at this point. Does any member of the commission have any comments or questions? Anybody?
Not really.
Okay.
I
right.
do have one question.
Go ahead.
I know somewhere, how many acres is the property? 23 or 24?
I believe it's 23.75 acres.
23. And is there something in the regulations that prevents them from having any more than 15 cows?
Well, no, but that's the number that they provided to us, and because it's a non-conforming use, changing from one non-conforming use to another non-conforming use, and that's the number they provided, that we wanted to stay with something reasonable, and you know, we didn't want it to leave it open-ended.
Could we modify that and say that they can have one cow or whatever per acre, because I think that's like the norm.
Well, I guess the question is, Kathy, if that expands the non-conforming use. So I guess the real question is, what did they have for horses there before?
Yeah.
If you give me a second to answer, what I would say, Kathy, my only concern with that is that the legal notices for the public, and that was sent out, specifically stated, based on the application, a cattle farm within 10 to 15, having 10 to 15 head of cattle. So I don't think it would be fair legally, and I think it could be challenged if we went beyond that, because that's what the legal notice stated and that's what the applicant stated. I think they could come back at some time in the future for a modification to their special permit if they wanted to do more than that.
Okay, I was just wondering if it would be easy to change it and give them a little more flexibility. But that's fine.
I think with
that's what they wanted.
Okay, thank you. I think we should stick with that because the legal notice.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do we know how many horses were kept there previously?
I personally do not.
And I don't think we have records of that as well, but I think it was considered a commercial stable. So You know, and there was people who went up there, you know, there was, I think they housed other horses. So again, there was more truck traffic and vehicles on the road than there will be with this use for sure. That's why we felt it was definitely less intensive than the other non-conforming use.
Okay. So that being said, are there any other questions or comments from the commission? And hearing none, Dan, do you want to check the waiting room, see if there are any members of the public?
We don't have any members of the public anymore.
Okay, so there's nobody waiting to make a comment from the public.
But I would like to read.
Yeah, I understand we have the 2 letters of support that we're going to read into the record. They're already exhibits, but if you want to read them in, that's fine.
I think it'd be beneficial for anyone that's just listening in, even though I think Dan just said they're not, but if you haven't read them, I'll read them into the record. Dated February 3rd, 2020, to whom it may concern, as the homeowners at 11 Prentice Lane, Norwich, Connecticut, adjacent to and sharing property boundaries with the land previously known as B&B Stables, 20 Prentice Lane, we approve of rezoning said land for raising livestock as it was historically used. We have trust and confidence in John and Mary Miley to use good sense, experience, and the resources of local agricultural community to make this venture successful and congruent with the neighborhood and immediate community. Signed, Robert E. Hatcher and Carol E. Clammer, 11 Prentice Lane, Norwich, Connecticut, 06360. And then the other letter that we received in dated 3/6/20 regarding special permit application number 2002, 20 and 20 Rear Prentice Lane. I own 5 acres at 10 and 16 Prentice Lane. This property borders 20 and 20 Rear Prentice Lane. I have owned 16 Prentice Lane since 1996. I bought 10 Prentice Lane a few years later. I thoroughly enjoyed being a longtime neighbor of the horse stable. I am extremely happy to hear Mr. Miley has plans for cattle. The land always was a farm and, in my opinion, should remain that way. I am a lover of agriculture and animals, and I totally approve of this application. Mary Ellen Casey, 16 Prentice Lane, Norwich, Connecticut. And that's it. So those are the 2 comments from the public, which were both in favor of this application.
Okay, and Dan, you've already said there's nobody waiting to speak on this.
No, at this time, the only people in the meeting are members of the commission, the applicant, and staff, and the day newspaper.
Okay, so that being said, I think we can have a motion to close the public hearing at this point, please.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Kathy's made a motion to close the public hearing. Can we have a second?
I'll second. Michael will second.
Second by Michael Lehan. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll put the matter to a vote. All in favor of closing the public hearing, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? The public hearing is therefore closed. And I
Chairman?
guess we can move on to the application itself. Is the first thing we need to do
Mr.
is deal with the
Chairman?
waiver. I'm
Yes.
sorry?
Mr.
The
Chairman?
waiver is for, oh, go ahead, Mike.
For the Mylar.
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
Mylar.
the waive the filing of a Mylar.
I just want to make a comment about this, and I'd love to have the privilege of being the one to make the motion to approve this, because I'm the oldest and the longest serving member of this commission, and I have watched cattle farms come and go in Norwich all these years, and I've never had opportunity to approve one because all the ones were here. And so I think it's an amazing proposition that somebody's going to open a cattle farm in Norwich. I've already bought a horse and saddle, so I can ride with them. But first of all, I'd like to make the motion to waive the presentation of the formal kind of site plan, because the plans that they have are perfectly adequate for what we need to do today.
Okay, second on that motion?
Singh, second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to waive the filing of the site plan. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, motion to waive the site, the filing of the Mylar has been approved. So, and Mike, you want to make the motion on the application?
I would, thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve this application for a cattle farm on Prentice Lane in the city of Norwich, which I never thought I'd ever see happen. I would like to include the conditions that Dan had, and I'd like to add to that condition that they adhere to the manure management plan that has been approved. I would also like to make it a part of the motion that we find that although this is a non-conforming use, there is no, this is a less intensive use than previously existed because of the lack of traffic and people and everything visiting a cattle farm. And that's my motion, I guess.
Okay, and that it complies with 4.84 of the,
I'm sorry, yeah.
of the regulation.
4.84 and chapter 5.7 of the zoning regulations for a special permit.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Can we have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
I'll second that. Oh, go
Okay.
ahead, Singh.
I heard Singh first, so Singh, you're seconding the motion?
Yes.
Okay, so we have the motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, put it to a vote. All in favor of the motion as stated with the conditions as stated, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion has carried and the application is approved with the conditions as set forth in the motion. All right. So, thank you, Mike, for that motion. Thank you, Mr. Is it Miley or Millie? Was I mispronouncing your name all day? Is he still on?
I am now. The name is Miley. Thank you. That's fine.
Miley, I'm sorry for butchering your name then.
That's all right. I want to thank the commission for their work tonight, and I want to thank Dan and Deanna for all their work.
Okay, thank you, and thank everybody for their participation in this meeting in this fashion tonight. Do we have any other business to come before the commission, Deanna or Dan? Looks like
So,
nothing.
if you look at the agenda, so we have nothing for old business, nothing for extension requests, nothing for bond reductions or releases at this time. There's no other business for you. I did want to remind you that the next POCD PIC meeting is on May 13th. Since there won't be any public there, or public can come, but they can't make comment anyways, what we're going to do is we hope to hold another remote meeting like this. It shouldn't be as complicated because everybody will just kind of be on and then they'll be able to speak. I think it'll be pretty efficient, Dan, and I think we can do that. And then there's no staff report unless you have specific questions for us. You know, you could adjourn if you'd like.
Okay, so can we have a motion to adjourn then?
So moved.
Motion by Mike, second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, the motion is carried, the meeting is adjourned. Again, I want to thank Dan and Deanna for putting the meeting together with this remote technology during this time of the virus. And I want to thank everybody for their participation in this, and for the applicants and staff, and for all the members of the commission. Thank you all for participating and for your patience in dealing with the shortcomings of having a meeting this way, but I think we got through it pretty well. Thanks to Dan
Can I
and
make a
Deanna.
comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Kath. Sure. We're adjourned. You can say anything you want.
You did a really good job at the meeting. I have to say that as the chairman, and I apologize for being late.
You're always late, Kath. It's okay.
I'm not. I'm just And one last thing. Emma,
we forgive you.
hi to everyone. What?
Yeah, I hope everybody is doing well.
Yes, okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So Dan, we
Can I
just,
say one thing? Can I say
Sure,
one
go
thing
ahead,
before
Mike.
we go?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I tried to get into the teaching session we had earlier this week, and I had troubles with that, but I worked it all out so it was easy this week. But I kept hearing Les King talk about photo bombing or Zoom bombing this
Yeah.
conference, and we didn't have any of that. So when I
Yes.
actually tuned in today and found out that Les was not present, I was wondering if he was just waiting outside, ready to Zoom bomb us and pretend he was some Eastern European kid. But that didn't happen, so I'm glad to hear that too.
Very good.
Well, I've been up since 5 a.m. worried about it, so I'm glad.
Well,
Dan, go home
Dan, you did a great job. Came off
You did do a great
very
job,
well.
so Go
I
home and
think
get
it
some
Thank you,
worked
rest.
out okay.
You can have tomorrow
Dan has been-
off.
Yeah, no, Dan has been
Stay home.
terrific through this whole thing. We wouldn't be able to work it out if it wasn't, for Dan's experience in this. It's been terrific working with him. I do want to let you know that right now we do have an application for next month, so be prepared to do this again. So we'll talk to you then, okay? So we'll have our meeting for POC pick, and then we'll have our regular meeting as well.
All right, well, everybody
Great.
stay safe, please.
All right, good night.
You too, Frank.
Good
All
night.
right,
you very
thank you,
much.
and thanks everybody again for your participation. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.